Like I said, and in continuation, I would like to start by inviting our moderator on the stage, that is Mr. Bikash Barai, and who is credited for several innovations in the domain of network security and anti-spam technologies and has multiple patents in USPTO. Fortune recognized Mr. Bikash as amongst India's top 40 business leaders under the age of 40 Fortune 40 under 40. Mr. Bikash is also an active speaker and has spoken at various platforms such as TIE, RSA Conference USA and TEDx. With this, ladies and gentlemen, may I request you all to kindly put your hands together and help me to welcome our moderator on the stage, Mr. Bikash Barai. Our first panelist for this afternoon is going to be Mr. Suvabrata Sinha, CSO, NXP Semiconductors, leadership experience in delivering large complex programs in security and risk management. May I request you, sir, to kindly join us on the stage. Our second panelist for the day is going to be Dr. Lopa Mudraa Basuu, who is the advisor, Cloud Security Alliance APAC Research Council. May I request you all to kindly put your hands together and help me to welcome. She is the mentor, author, and international speaker at JEDGE for prestigious awards and a lot more. Our next panelist is Mr. Sabyasachi Hazra, director, and has an experience of more than 20 years in information security and currently holds 25 plus international certifications. He's also an item writer for a lot of security related subjects. With this, our last panelist for this is going to be Mr. Raja Ukil, who is the VP and Global Head Enterprise Business at ColorTokens, who's an SVP of Europe, APAC, Middle East Sales and GSI Partnership for ColorTokens. With this, I'm going to hand over to our moderator, that is Mr. Bikash Barai, and at the same time requesting the panelists to kindly keep it crisp in the interest of time. Without further ado, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have to keep it crisp. Okay, so let me do something like this. Before we start, I know the topic AI has been discussed at a lot of places. Huh? So may I ask some of you, which are some of the areas, any big question that you have in mind which you think we should discuss? Very crisp, please, huh? With the theme. Huh? Any crisp question which you think we should discuss today? Anybody from the audience? Yes. Sorry?
Security in embedded. Embedded security.
Embedded security is one of your areas of interest, okay?
Cyber security for connected homes and connected vehicles.
Okay, that's your area of interest. We'll try to keep it conversational. Since we have less of time, I don't know how much we'll be able to do it, but we'll try. So AI is the theme, so we'll see in the context of what you mentioned, embedded or connected vehicles or IoT, etc. If we can talk about some of the use cases over there. So let's do something like this. Let's start with Lopa. Lopa, what's your thought? Why do you think like AI is very important? What's the reason why the traditional like algorithms, traditional way of doing things is not enough? Why AI is important?
Good evening all. Why AI is very important in cybersecurity to handle today's scenario in digital connected world? I think first of all, AI is a two-edged sword. So if we go by the positive side of AI, one is speed, another is capability to handle huge number of data to provide a good cyber analytics which can be used to handle or detect or protect the attack. Now coming back to when it is coming to the utilization of AI, you can see a kind of, a huge number of data generated. It is humanly impossible to handle that. So that is one of the things. Second thing, speed make the difference. So how accurate is the data? That is one thing. Another is what is the speed you are utilizing? So both the cases, it is not possible utilizing the human brain because we are lagging behind when it is coming to the processing speed. So that's the reason AI is very important.
Thanks. Thanks, Lopa. Raja, like if you think of the traditional models of security versus using AI, why do you think the traditional models are lacking, or is it's not enough?
So good afternoon, everybody. We are first sorry that we are standing in between lunch and this discussion. I do intermittent fasting, so you can imagine I'm fainting, right? Almost. So I won't go into the jargons of that it is a hybrid world. There are everything is smart. People are working from home because of COVID. This has been discussed at length, and what are the risks, and some of the sessions also discuss this. I think where AI should augment. If you look at ransomware attacks, and I have lived through, I have been a CIO for 5.5 years for a very large organization. So what has happened is modern attacks, right? Whether it is a data breach or a ransomware, the attacker gets in, moves around laterally within the environment, and then takes out data, encrypts systems. This is the method, right? So the problem is in this is that they exploit tools and techniques which a normal administrator or an user would use, right? So having said that, there are behavioral differences between a normal behavior and an abnormal behavior, and that is where this is impossible to detect with traditional technologies and tool sets, which is why more and more we see in detection response and in multiple areas, right, like identity proofing, etc., you see the extensive use of machine learning and artificial intelligence coming into being.
Thanks. So as a next part, we'll get into some of the use cases, like what do we apply AI? I think that's what probably matters to all of you, right? But before that, on this same question, just wanted to add something. I was remembering my days when I did computer science. Initial years, the first few years, we learned the traditional algorithms. We learned AI a little bit later. So let me give you a view of like, why is it important with a little bit theoretical bent. So the traditional algorithms are very straightforward, simple, like you do this, do next, and you get the result. So it's very deterministic. If you do X number of things in a specific sequence, the outcome is always the same. Now imagine in real world, it's not like that. I mean, your wife asks you a question, or your husband, whatever, spouse asks you a question. The same answer which worked in a specific context, if you give that answer in some other context, it might completely backfire. I mean, I'm sure you have faced that situation, right? In the real world, things are not always very deterministic in nature. The same thing is also true in case of a lot of algorithms. The same set of activities which you did may not work because the attackers change their strategy. Now, you can't keep on writing or adding new set of rules because your adversary is changing, the context is changing. A deterministic way of handling a situation doesn't work. So you need an algorithm which is dynamic in nature, which can respond to context, which can respond to this changing situation. So that's what AI algorithm does. AI algorithms are more slightly non-deterministic in nature, which can adapt, change based on context, which has got the ability to learn, which has got the ability to plan, etc., etc. So that's a very broad level concept. I know the word AI is used so much in so many places. Even non-AI things are being called AI today. And sometimes things which are AI are not considered as AI, like search is actually AI, but very few people think of search as AI. They think like learning is AI. Anyway, so we'll get back to the next part. Like, let's go to Sabyasachi or Sabi. Let's look at some of the use cases or context, like where should we use AI? And can you share from your experience, like these are some of the areas in cybersecurity where we need to use AI or AI is being used?
Yeah, sure. So my plan was to speak 15-20 minutes, but if I continue to do so, the hall will be empty in 5-10 minutes. So I will make it very short. Yeah, the main focus, what I would say, right, main areas is, we can use that in network security a lot, right, so like anomaly-based IPS, where proactively we can detect the attack, right, especially the zero-day attacks, which is happening. But the problem that, there are multiple clients who did deploy AI-based network IPS. Now, what happened? After that, they have they started to block the traffic. However, they came to know after 2-3 months that they're blocking the legitimate traffic, right? Which is not good. So what was wrong? The learning curve of AI is very, distinct, right? So there should be a proper learning curve which should be there. The data that we are ingesting into the AI system, it's very important, right? The data quality, what kind of quality you are putting inside the AI is also very important. Fine tuning is again, it's very important, right? There is a false sense of security that if I put AI into my, into my system, then I need not to do anything, right? Like only, it will act as an intelligent person, but that's wrong, right? All components in IIT needs to be fine-tuned, right? So I think the network security, as that is a path through which the hackers, the intruder, get access to your, to your domain, is very important to protect. After, it's a like OSI layer, right? So you need to first protect the first few layers, right? Then your application and the next part comes. So yeah.
So thanks. That's a great point. Just to summarize here, if you look at NIST CSF, right, we have identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And you spoke about the detection as a domain, right? In the detection, there are multiple technologies in the stack. It could be the XDR or the SIEM, SOC, whatever you might call, or NBA, UEBA, whatever those detection technologies are. Each of these detection technologies are great from the perspective of application of AI. The reason is that's where you can use learning, right? And the pitfall or the problem is that the quality of learning depends on the data. You have to handhold it. You cannot trust initially, et cetera, et cetera. But that's a great use case. Huh? So the entire detection stack of technologies, if you are buying a new technology, I think you should look at, is there some AI component out there? And is that really effective? Huh? So that's one great use case area. Let's move to Lopa. Outside of the kind of detect domain, if I consider NIST CSF, any other areas which you would like to talk in terms of application of AI?
Yeah. AI is extensively used in security testing. Because what happened when we are doing the security testing, it is majorly you are conducting the test on historical data. And the output which you are giving, it is little backdated. Because by the time you complete the test and provide the data, there is a delay. Now, when you are using that AI to build that capability, your data is near the future. The outcome you are giving is very near to the future, so it is very effective. Now, a gentleman is talking about how AI or ML can be used for the cybersecurity in connected vehicle. That is one of the areas I have worked extensively in one of my previous organization. Basically, when we look at connected car, specifically if it is a semi-connected car, it may have 15,000 IoT sitting inside to, automate some of the functionality of the vehicle. Now, what kind of cyber attack? So a vehicle is, if we look at 3 attack surface basically, and there are 5 areas through which hackers can penetrate. But the kind of attack can be, chalked based on those, could be threat to the life of the driver and the people boarded in the vehicle. Secondly, the vehicle can be utilized to create a disaster on the road against the traffic moving towards a single way. Now, how this particular AI ML used? Generally, a vehicle is having a fleet SOC inside, which is connected over the air, and there is a upstream SOC sitting from where you can monitor the entire activity of the vehicle. But this data cannot be continuously move to upstream SOC, where analysts can give you the legitimate, information that your vehicle is demonstrating the abnormal behavior. You need to be careful. But what, as a solution, generally in fleet SOC, the fleet SOC inside the vehicle is connected with the app of your phone, which directly send you the alert stating that there is an abnormality related to the vehicle movement, because every vehicle is having a trend of driving. Every driver is having a behavior of driving that is going to be logged, and every user of a vehicle have a particular condition of their choice which is created within the vehicle. So that is something you can capture and demonstrate that. Sometime fuel, wrong indication of fuel, wrong indication of speed, or rotation of your tire, or distraction to the driver also may lead to an accident, or an environment where you can extensively increase the temperature, lock the car from all sides, or take a car to a kind of weird zone, and you may ask for a ransomware. So those abnormal behavior of the car can be directly sent to the application inside your infotainment dashboard or your mobile. So, based on that, you can take a decision.
Sure. So Lopa mentioned about a couple of things. One is like using AI in the context of testing. I have some interesting things to share over there, but before I do that, you also spoke about like the connected devices, etc. Let's first talk to Shubho, then we'll come back to the testing. Shubho, what are some of your thoughts on AI and ML use cases or adoption?
Yep. Thank you. So I'd like to bring up a very, very interesting area where machine learning and AI is being increasingly used in the security space. That is integrating factory systems, manufacturing systems, and other operational technology into the overall context of how you manage security in the enterprise. Right? So what do you mean? I mean your connected, network connected CNC machines, your network connected robotic assembly lines, your network connected flow control systems. If I am a hacker, why the hell do I have to bother about complicated hacks into your enterprise systems if I can find out a way of shutting down your process control system? Right? And that is an area which is becoming more and more interesting. More solutions are coming into place. Machine learning and AI are increasingly helping in pretty much the same things. Detecting anomalous traffic, detecting anomalous behavior, quick remediation, shutting down factory microsegments, stuff like that. Right? The other area that I would like to talk about is what one of the users asked is connected homes. Right? We all know about these connected home products where the like regular Google Ring systems can, Google Nest systems can actually tell you that it's your son who is ringing the doorbell. Right? It's not. But what is actually happening is these kind of computer vision plus AI and ML systems are being expanded into enterprise use cases. Think about how do you monitor your 25,000 ATMs? How do you secure your factory? You cannot have 500 guards, and even with 500 guards, it may not be secure. How do you measure and monitor for threat signals from your continuously connected IPTVs, for example? And so the technology started in the consumer space, but is very, very fast moving into an enterprise space. Again, fueled by and powered by machine learning and AI.
Great, thanks. Let me share something over here. See, AI is kind of widely being misused in today's context. A lot of times people consider something which is normal deterministic algorithm as AI. So let me take this as an example and try to explain this, like testing. Lopa mentioned about testing, and now AI is being used in testing. Let's look at this as an example. Suppose you have to do a SQL injection, and you know a specific set of like a specific input that you can give, which is like 1 equal to 1, and you know that if you get a positive response back, there's a SQL injection. Now, that's a very deterministic algorithm, right? If you do this and if you see the response, you know that SQL injection is possible. So you don't need AI for that. Then in testing, why do we need AI? A lot of things can be done without AI, and people come in and actually market and say, you know what, we do AI there. But actually there's normal algorithms out there, and there's nothing bad with normal algorithm. Now let's look at some of the new things which is happening in the security testing space. One happens to be very close to my heart because we work on that at Fire Compass. See, today, because of connected devices, IoT, this, that, etc., the central security team doesn't get to know of all the assets they have. Because somebody somewhere, maybe in South America, created a new IP, launched a new service on top of that, and it's open. Now, how do you get to know this? It's not a deterministic algorithm anymore. You have to scan through 3 billion IP addresses to figure out that that is my asset, belongs to me. Is there a straightforward algorithm which you can have, like here's the rule for that? There can be. You may decide a rule like if it is hosted on a subdomain which has got, suppose, Nokia in the name, if I'm part of Nokia, I know that's the thing. But maybe the word Nokia is not there. It is something else. So here, the deterministic algorithm fails. And that's why you have to take huge amount of like internet-wide data, analyze it, and you cannot analyze that using deterministic algorithm. So you can use AI and learning there. So that's one use case. Let me give you another use case. Suppose you have to do an attack. You want to do red teaming, penetration testing. Now, while doing an attack, if you are doing, let's consider on a specific service, you are doing a buffer overflow attack. So you know this is the specific attack vector, crafted message I'm going to send. If the system crashes or responds with this answer, I know there's a buffer overflow. But that's a single stage attack. Imagine a scenario where you have to do a multi-stage attack. Like when I had to come to this place, I parked my car in the basement, lower basement. I couldn't find my way. There's no direct lift from there to come up. So I had to try multiple ways to figure out the path. So I did not have a deterministic path in my mind, a deterministic plan to come up here, right? But I tried a few things, met some roadblocks, eventually came up here. That algorithm is a planning algorithm. So when it comes to attack planning, you can use AI. So you guys can see, right? Like there's a huge difference between the conventional deterministic algorithms and AI. And that is right now being used in testing, in anomaly detection, and multiple other areas. We'll come to you in a moment. Let's just look at, we were talking about use cases. I would like everybody to get a chance. Raja, would you like to add something on the use cases? Then we'll come to Sabi. We'll come back to you.
So I'll keep it brief. At ColorTokens, we deal with zero trust as a concept and a solution, right? So what does zero trust say? Just for the benefit, I know most of you know. It says that, never trust, always verify. Always, assume that there is a breach. Basically, these are the two fundamental principles. So you take trust out of the system. So what does it mean at a ground level? That, your servers, your users, your applications cannot talk freely amongst each other. You just have to only allow what you can trust, right? Now, Bikash brought out a very important point. I have been a CIO. I never knew what my assets were. Forget smart devices. I didn't even know how many servers we had. We knew there was a procurement system, and we could not ever determine the exact match, right? So asking an application team or an infrastructure team, tell me, is this traffic legitimate, right? This, this is communicating on port 443 or whatever, right? Means high ports, etc. People cannot say this is a legitimate process, right? So what happens is you have to essentially assign what is called a trust value, right? How do you derive this trust value? It's not a deterministic algorithm. If you knew the answer, then you would have known that this process is a legitimate process, right? This is where machine learning and, and AI is coming into being, right? We are working on it ourselves, but there are other companies who are working on it.
Great. Sabi?
Yeah, I think the proactive approach, right, which is not preventive, it's more proactive. So before an attack happens, it should be blocked, right? Somehow we should know the pattern, right? The decision trees, how to block those kind of attack, and the integration, right? So it's not about only blocking. My SOC also should be aware that something happened and it's been successfully blocked, right? So that integration is also important for AI.
Okay, so that's a great point. So basically, see, for a long period of time, we were like SOC was trying to detect, then came the SOAR, right? So that you can also respond to that. SOAR had traditionally been rule-based. Even today, most of the SOAR is rule-based, right? You need specific set of rules. But then a lot of things happens which are not part of your rules. Then it goes to people. And still, there's a high amount of people dependency. So there's a new set of companies who came up and said, you know what, we will create rules which are intelligent, which can find those rules on its own without you feeding the rules. So there's another area where AI is being used. You wanted to add something?
Prevention is better than cure, right? Everybody says. So take any vertical, either your health industry or your natural calamities, right? Wherever you're using AI today, right? It should get the trends and help us to prevent such kind of catastrophes, right? So that's where I think AI would be much more helpful. That's
Absolutely.
my thought.
Yeah. So prevention, obviously, that's one of the key areas. Responding is one of the key areas. Yes.
Building a preventive defense.
A very interesting topic. One of the areas that we have seen, and given that I have been in the cybersecurity industry for almost now 10, 15 years, is that you see a lot of skill shortage of people in the cybersecurity. Perhaps there are a lot of opportunities where AI can help in order to do a lot of repetitive tasks. As you mentioned about SOAR, does a lot of repetitive tasks as well as does something that can look at past historical evidences or instances and then apply that patterns into a set of actionable outcomes. So that's one part of it. The gaps AI can definitely help in terms of ensuring our need for more people to be trained on it, right? So doing that. The other aspect of it is that, you know, the tools of AI, interestingly, nowadays people are also looking at stitching of data coming in from various sources. And given in a heterogeneous world that we live in, the ability to bring in data from the network side of it, or let's say from the endpoint side of it, I guess you've touched upon XDR as one of the tools as well. And the cloud deployments that are happening, if you can bring that together and then build up algorithms, helping you to build much more, I would say, outcomes that helps in the process of a SOC operation.
Sure. So we found out a lot of interesting use cases until now where AI is being used, where deterministic algorithms fail. Like we spoke about in the detection, SOC, SOAR, SIEM, in testing autonomous or automated red teaming, attack surface management, or even the conventional network testing, etc. AI is coming in terms of integrating a lot of various types of data. So we got a lot of interesting use cases so far. Let me ask the audience, anybody got a question? I will also ask if anybody got a comment. So if you have a comment, please don't raise your hand. You will get a chance. Is it a question or a comment? Question. Question. Okay. We'll take the question, and for those who have a comment, we'll also come to you. We'll do both. But we'll first address question. Yes.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sanket. So my question is, like, we're using AI ML, right? It's coming to the security field. We also use it in our product. Previously, it was like proactive. When an attack happens, we react to it. Recently, a concept, and there are many platforms or tools which are using this, which is preemptive security, right? You preempt before the attack happens. Your tool predicts on this particular date, at this particular time, your attack is going to happen on you. Just have a question from an AI ML perspective. Since you guys have been working on this, how much of it is actually possible?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of snake oil is being sold out in the market. You need to be a little bit careful about. If anybody tells you that I will tell you when you will die exactly, or I'll tell you how you will be a millionaire exactly, just treat, if it is too good to be true, it is. Huh? So anything in life is like that. Same with AI. So let me tell you this in short, that most of it you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Anybody who wants to comment on this?
You have spoken too less, actually. Okay. Yeah, so I'll say that there are a lot of new pitches coming up based on proactive preemption. Right? I just wonder how many of those are actually used in exactly the same way in the enterprise. And I'll tell you why. Because if your preemption means an actuation, you are actually shutting down the machine, or it's digital analog, you are shutting down a server, which is actually running production. Right? Enterprises are still very, very wary on how high fidelity your preemption is. And you fail once, not only your tool fails, but the team also loses credibility. And it's just human psychology that even if you sell a preemptive tool, there will still, it will be implemented in a way that there will be a human factor before it's allowed to actuate it.
So short answer, do not trust.
Yeah. Can I just add something?
So go ahead, please.
Yeah. See, three things which are important, I think I'll keep it very brief. We talked about, I think one of the panelists talked about cyber resilience. Three things I would recommend from personal experience. One is, please get a cyber risk quantification done. Okay, saying that if a breach happens, what is my actual rupee or dollar impact, and which are the areas I should focus and mitigate. Second is, there are two concepts which are very relevant. Okay, you cannot prevent a breach. If somebody is saying you can predict, that's hogwash. Okay, one is threat surface management. Okay, how can I reduce the threat surface? Second is, how can I reduce the blast surface? Blast surface means, if I get impacted, can I restrict the attack to 2 servers, 2 applications, and my entire enterprise should not go down. I think that is most important.
Right.
So,
I had one more question to that.
Okay, just before we do that, I just wanted to ask the organizers how much time do we have. The good thing is I see that you guys are still engaged. That's good, but anybody from the organizers? Okay, go ahead, please, your question.
Yeah. So I resonate with that, with cyber risk quantification, right? Because that's a part that we are working on. But the question that I have is specific to AI ML. We're implementing AI ML, but in cybersecurity, a lot of things boils down to very basics, as Narayanan sir was telling. People till date, even I have seen organizations who keep default username passwords for firewalls, right? How these things can be addressed using AI ML? Okay. How to address the basics?
Okay, so what we'll do is, great question. I love that question. Let's just quickly see any other question which you have. I have one question for Shukarna. How many minutes do we have?
My question.
-5.
No, we did a good job. We just kind of took 10 minutes. Oh, she's very generous. Huh? Okay, so.
Hello.
Sorry? Demerits of AI. Okay, we got 2 interesting questions, right? People do very stupid things like have default passwords. How do we catch that? Question 1. Question 2 is, what are the demerits of AI? Question 3?
Yeah, while we are increasing the utilization of AI apps in connected homes, how are we targeting the hackers? For example, there is a robotic dog. There is a robo. Robotic dog is kept outside. Now, can the hacker enter through that? Similarly, infotainment.
Got it. Can a hacker enter into this kind of systems?
Entertainment electronics.
Yeah.
Through entertainment electronics, can they hack?
Yes, the answer is yes. We'll have to pick up a few questions and go probably a little bit deep in the interest of time. Your question, let me answer that because that's what we do as a research area. The next question, demerits of AI. I know many of you have thoughts on that, so we will let you guys, maybe Sabi and Lopa or any of you, pick that up. So quickly on how do we find out those stupid mistakes which somebody kind of made. See, one thing that you have to do is you have to monitor it. And there's a new set of technology that has come up which is called attack surface management. ASM, what it does is it monitors the entire internet, tries to find out assets which belongs to an organization, and then finds out does it have simple misconfiguration mistakes, simple password reuse which is happening, or default password which is being used. So that's the technology, the name of the technology. Gartner now calls it EASM, External Attack Surface Management. Or continuous automated red teaming like CART, etc. The idea is that it has to be regular. That's why you need automation. So that's the new technology which addresses this problem. On the risks or demerits of AI, who wants to take it first?
Both of us.
Okay, go ahead.
So when it is coming to demerit or risks associated with AI, not specific to cyber, AI itself is having some of the risks. So we need to address them while we are onboarding AI or ML for cyber as well. So the first thing we are looking at algorithmic bias. So AI or ML, right, it is based on the algorithm. So when you actually adopt that, if there is a bias in the algorithm itself, that's going to propagate. Secondly, it's a capability overestimation. So when you are onboarding, if you actually overestimate the capability, exactly what capability that AI or ML is having, then it is major risks related to that area. Apart from that, we can see some of the, it's like programmatic error in the AI. That is another major risk. The way AI is going to work or going to give the outcome, it's going to be completely error prone. Now, while doing all this, another risk is cyber threat itself. AI is also actually inviting huge threat surface, because you are actually connecting all your devices randomly, as well as when today we are looking at consolidation of security. We are looking for effective asset discovery, because unless until you know your asset, you cannot provide the security. And lots of cases AI, ML are in use, but with that actually start expanding the attack surface much more, because everything is going to be get connected. So if your basic cyber hygiene is not proper and your access management is not very efficient, it is actually going to, again, impose a threat. Now, while doing all this, there is a legal risk associated with AI, which is not very clearly addressed, and again, which may trigger your reputational risks. Now, while you are adopting, you need to simply keep the mindset that no technology is foolproof. Every technology is having an inherent risks. So what you are onboarding, first deep dive onto that and see that what are the inherent risks and how it is going to be within your environment, and accordingly handle those risks, bring them within the organizational appetite. As Raja mentioned, that risks needs to be managed. You cannot nullify, right? You need to know what are the risks associated, accordingly put the control, effectively monitor them, and keep it within the organizational appetite. So monitoring part is very important when you are working with the AI.
So Sabi, I have a very shocking information for you guys, not what Elon Musk mentioned, something new. But before that, Sabi, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the main pitfall of using AI is it gradually builds false sense of security, right? So we think it's a sophisticated system, it is having that decision trees, multiple other learning curve. But is it actually working as desired? That's one of the key thing, right? So we are investing, like millions of dollars maybe, right? To install, to have the expert fine-tuning that. But actually, is it doing what been expected, right? So I think that's one of the greatest pitfall, right? It increased the false sense of security, that I am secure.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let me share with you something very interesting. So at IIT Kharagpur, my professor for AI was a guy called Professor PPC. He is one of the world-renowned persons in AI. So if you go to MIT, Stanford, wherever, if you read the textbook for AI, in the first chapter, his algorithm is taught, the algorithm which he created, a variation of what we call MA-star algorithm. Very well-renowned guy. So once he was in Bangalore, we were having a chat. So he was telling me something very interesting. He said, Bikash, you know what, we see these AI algorithms and we see it's absolutely genius. Like the way the things it finds out, we get absolutely floored. We have no clue how like this algorithm could do something like this. So we feel absolutely thrilled. Then all of a sudden, we see the same algorithm making such a stupid mistake. We just can't imagine how it made such a mistake. So he's saying, and we have no clue why that algorithm created that mistake. So one is, it sometimes makes an absolutely stupid mistake, but the bigger problem as scientists, like Professor PPC is a scientist, right? He's saying, we don't know how it does the great things. We don't know how it fails so miserably. So it is something which scientists are very uncomfortable about. Like if you meet a doctor who does absolute magic and like does this operation, but you don't know how that guy does that operation. Nobody knows. There's no research paper, nothing. Okay, that's how a class of AI algorithm works. Even the algorithm creators doesn't know how it works. And sometimes it makes absolutely stupid mistakes. So this is one very interesting pitfall of AI. There are many other pitfalls of AI, but I just wanted to highlight this since I remembered Professor PPC. Great, so it was a great session. I would honor the timeline given to me. It's exactly 5 minutes from when Shukonda mentioned, 10 minutes, it's 2 o'clock. We wanted to kind of respect the time boundary which we had. Thanks all of you for being a great audience. Thanks.